Peeps, corporations aren't people. Same peeps. Mexicans are people, Muslims, communists, unions, homosexuals, etc. are people. This is a thought I had after reading something that someone had posted. They were just talking about different things, and then they went on and said, oh, yeah, we should change, and if you change this whole thing about how corporations are people. And I think most of this comes from this case in the United States of America. This is from history.com. It says, but it wasn't until the 1886 case, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad, that the court appeared to grant a corporation the same rights as an individual under this 14th Amendment. And I think this is like the corporate personhood kind of situation that happens in the United States of America, and this has been extended to other places because, like it or not, United States of America is still a world leader and actually leads a lot of the way other countries start to behave and act. Now, the practical nature of this, it says, in the United States and most counties, corporations as legal persons have a right to enter into contracts with other parties and to sue or be sued in court in the same way as natural persons or unincorporated associations of persons. So this in general is just something that says a corporation doesn't necessarily have to be the people in the corporation. The corporation can be an individual entity. You've actually signed a contract with the corporation. So if someone is part of the board and then they leave the board, then you can't really say you're in contract with this individual that was just a member of the corporation at the time. If you're suing them, you're suing the corporation, which has its separate bank account and separate money and things like that. You can't just go out and say every single person invested in this corporation, every single employee of this corporation owes me a certain amount of money. And I think also now when employees are signing up for an actual corporation to sign up and actually join it, it's almost like getting into a individual client to, let's say you're a freelancer and you're just working with one person, you enter some kind of agreement and you say, we're going to agree, I'm going to do this work for you, you're going to pay me this, and it's not like I'm actually asking every single other person of the corporation to do this. So there are some things that go toward this, and I think this is a misunderstood law and misunderstood rule. And of course, people on all sides are going to take advantage of this. I'm not going to say there aren't people in corporations who have taken advantage of this in ways that I do not actually appreciate. But my whole take on this, the reason I was talking about with this thought, is they talk about this in the sense where corporations, when I look at corporations, yes, legally, they're actually allowed to be a person, this corporate personhood. But when you look at corporations in general, when you say Amazon is doing this, Microsoft is doing this, Facebook is doing this. You're talking about these large corporations. Oh, this corporation has taken these business. This corporation is bad. This corporation should do this. That corporation should end. You're talking about a collection of actual people. The corporation itself may have that name, may have that corporate personhood, but it is still made up from a whole lot of associated human beings like owners, managers, employees, and things like that, and the clients and the customers and all these things. And we're starting to see this in this current pandemic that, oh yeah, some corporations happen to be riding this out because they have more actual funding. But when you look at small businesses, and small businesses are just essentially small corporations. There's small things that have are more divided and things like this. And part of my frustration with this is I'm not even pro corporations because I think the size of the current corporations would not exist without the corporatism that goes in, without the state actual development. I have a separate video on this about monopolies where it's like monopolies themselves can't really exist without the states. Like monopolies in the actual wild, in the actual market would actually, the only way they could be that big is if they were actually able to handle things like what's going on right now with all these bailouts and all these other things, with the risk and the actual thing like too big to fail. No, there's none of that. There's none of that there in the actual free market, in my actual understanding of what's going on. And please come at me with a good argument of how I'm wrong about that and how monopolies would actually exist in a free market, a monopoly that's not earned and not deserving and not able to be actually maintained. So when you talk about this, they talk about corporations in that sense. So we're starting to see the actual effect of if a corporation actually shuts down, how many people are actually affected by it. When you look at the stock market, it's actually people investing in this. It's not just this nebulous creature of just money involved, like all these wealthy people. The wealthy people, if the stock market goes down, they can normally ride it out. But most of just the average people who are their 401ks and things like that, investing in this is like a nest egg, they're the ones who get wiped out in this situation. But people don't seem to understand this. They look at that as that kind of situation. But then they look at these other groups. They look at groups like Mexicans. They talk about, oh, Donald Trump said this about certain Mexicans, so he's talking about all the Mexicans. Oh, you said this about certain Muslims that said we're doing this because we're Muslim. Now you're talking about you've offended all these Muslims. Oh, the communists, not all the communists are like that. That's just a communist country that did this. So like, no, we're actually good people. We're talking about unions. Oh, if this union worker wants this one thing, then everybody in the union works that. Oh, homosexuals. Oh, if you offend this homosexual person, if you talk about this person, you discriminate against this, you've offended all the homosexuals. It's like, no. If you can understand that when you talk about homosexuals, unions, communists, Muslims, Mexicans, you're talking about a group of people, a group of different individuals with separate interests that share one sort of identity that you can put them under that thing, saying Mexicans, saying Muslims, saying communists, saying unions, saying homosexuals. That's the same thing with corporations. When you talk about Facebook, you can talk about the people involved in Facebook. They're all employees in some way. They're somehow related to it. Even the customers, Facebook users, and things like this. You're all part of that corporation in a sense. So yes, corporations by themselves are not actual people. Legally, they have some of the protections and amenities afforded to individuals. But when you actually look at the entity themselves, just like these other groupings are, they actually are made up by individual people. And I hope we just get the understanding and look at things in that sense and don't make this separate situation for corporations. When even for me with corporations, I think it's even more valid because, okay, maybe communists is not so much. Unions, in some sense, there's some places where it's forced. Mexicans, you're just born into that country. I guess you can join the country and you can join the nationality and things like that. Muslims, I think it's a choice, even though you're indoctrinated normally into your actual faith. But you can choose to actually convert or if you can leave in some places without being okay. Homosexuality, there's definitely a big aspect of it that is genetic. But corporations in general, most of the people involved in corporations chose to actually enter there. So I guess there you even have a stronger actual connection of why the people are actually involved in this. They chose to get employment there. They chose to purchase things from there. They chose to actually run or start the actual company or help organize it. So there are things like that in there. So anyway, this is part of my shorty series where I expand on short thoughts and hopefully engage you, and you can let me know what you think in the comment section. There's also links to a merchandise store. You can help me out that way. I post different things occasionally. And like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications. I was just told by one of my subscribers that they don't get notifications for this on YouTube. So please hit the notification if you are a regular subscriber or if you're a new subscriber and you want to get notifications of my new videos. I've got videos lined up for right now. I'm thinking I'm going to switch into a Wednesday, and then on the weekends, 2 videos on Saturday, Sunday, and then Wednesday. There's at least that until July. So I've got videos set up for that. I'm going to try and fill the days in between it so you can see if we can go with daily videos until that time. But for right now, I can guarantee you at least Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday, you're going to get a video until July, and I'm going to keep stacking those up, and hopefully I can maintain that for the rest of this year. Till next time, goodbye.